In one of the most shocking moments of the entire House Judiciary Committee hearing on February 11, 2026, Attorney General Pam Bondi was caught on live camera holding what Democrats are furiously calling her personal burn book. Right there, clearly visible on the page, was a printed document titled Jayapal Pramila Search History, a detailed log showing exactly which Epstein files and documents Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal had searched in the DOJ's unredacted database just the day before. Was the Department of Justice secretly tracking and monitoring members of Congress as they reviewed the Epstein files? And was that information being used in real time during this very hearing? This single binder reveal has triggered explosive accusations of spying, intimidation, and a serious breach of separation of powers. If you want to stay updated on every major moment from the Epstein files hearings that mainstream media is downplaying, make sure you subscribe right now and hit the notification bell. We're breaking these down as they happen. To fully grasp why this burn book moment hit like a bombshell, we need to understand the intense environment surrounding the hearing. On February 11, 2026, Attorney General Pam Bondi was testifying before the House Judiciary Committee in what became one of the most combative oversight hearings of the year. The main topic, the Department of Justice's handling and release of the long-awaited Jeffrey Epstein files. Millions of pages had already been made public, but controversies continued to swirl. Accusations of improper redactions, powerful names being shielded, victim identities accidentally exposed, and almost no major prosecutions of Epstein's co-conspirators. The stakes were extremely high. Adding to the drama, several Epstein survivors were physically present in the hearing room, seated directly behind Attorney General Bondi, wearing matching shirts and watching her every move. The atmosphere was already electric with tension. Democrats on the committee came prepared with sharp questions about transparency, accountability, and whether the DOJ was truly committed to full disclosure or still protecting influential figures. Republicans, meanwhile, defended the massive document releases as unprecedented and accused Democrats of turning the hearing into political theater. It was against this backdrop of distrust, emotion, and partisan warfare, roughly 2 hours and 20 minutes into the session, that the camera caught something completely unexpected. As Pam Bondi reached for her notes and flipped through her thick black binder during questioning, several pages became clearly visible to the live broadcast cameras. As the hearing dragged into its third hour, the questions from Democrats grew sharper and more personal. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal and several of her colleagues were zeroing in on issues of transparency and access to the unredacted Epstein files. They wanted to know exactly how the DOJ was managing who could see what, and whether there was equal treatment for everyone involved. Pam Bondi, seated at the witness table, remained composed but clearly prepared. She repeatedly reached for her notes, flipping through a thick, black 3-ring binder she had brought with her. This wasn't unusual. Government officials often carry thick binders full of talking points and reference documents to these hearings. But what happened next changed everything. Around the 2-hour and 20-minute mark, as Bondi opened the binder to respond to a line of questioning, the live cameras caught a clear, unmistakable view of one of the pages inside. There, printed in bold professional lettering at the top of the document, were the words, Jayapal Pramila Search History. Below that title was a detailed list, dates, times, and specific document numbers showing exactly which Epstein files and records Congresswoman Jayapal had accessed in the DOJ system. The log was incredibly specific, showing searches that had taken place just the day before the hearing. The room didn't react immediately. Most people may not have noticed it in real time. But once the image went out on the live feed and screenshots began circulating, it exploded. Democrats quickly realized what they were seeing. The Department of Justice appeared to have been actively tracking and logging the search activity of a sitting member of Congress who was questioning them on the very same Epstein files. This wasn't just any random note. It was a printed record of one of their own committee members' digital footprint inside the sensitive Epstein database. The implications hit hard and fast. Was this standard internal security procedure? Or was it something more sinister? a way for the DOJ to monitor and potentially intimidate lawmakers who were digging too deep into the Epstein case. The tension in the room thickened instantly. You could see the shift in body language. Jayapal and her colleagues leaned forward. The survivors seated directly behind Bondi watched with visible intensity. Bondi continued speaking, seemingly unaware at that exact second that the camera had exposed her binder's contents to the entire world. But the damage was done. Within minutes, the phrase "burn book" began trending as Democrats accused the Attorney General of bringing opposition research directly into the hearing room. The moment the binder page was exposed, the atmosphere in the hearing room shifted from tense to outright explosive. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, whose personal search history had just been put on full display, immediately recognized the significance of what had happened. She and her Democratic colleagues did not hold back their outrage. Jayapal later stated publicly that Bondi had shown up to the hearing armed with a burn book that contained a printed record of exactly what she had searched in the Epstein file system the previous day. The frustration and anger in her voice were unmistakable as she and other Democrats began pressing Bondi harder, demanding explanations for why the Department of Justice was tracking the activities of elected members of Congress who were supposed to be conducting oversight. You could feel the emotional intensity rising rapidly. The Epstein survivors seated directly behind Attorney General Bondi were watching the entire exchange with visible shock and disbelief. These survivors, many of whom had already raised their hands earlier to show they still had not received proper meetings with the DOJ, now witnessed what appeared to be the government monitoring the very people fighting for transparency in their case. Bondi, realizing the camera had captured the binder contents, maintained her composure, but the pressure was clearly mounting. Democrats accused her of bringing opposition research straight into the hearing room, using it as a tool to intimidate and counter their questions in real time. The accusations flew thick and fast: spying, surveillance, abuse of power, and a dangerous violation of the separation of powers between Congress and the executive branch. The room became louder and more chaotic. Voices rose, interruptions increased, and the gavel had to come down multiple times to restore order. What started as a standard oversight hearing had now turned into a full-blown confrontation over whether the Department of Justice was weaponizing information against its own congressional overseers. This single visual of the Jayapal Pramila search history document became the defining image of the entire hearing for many observers. It wasn't just about redactions or slow prosecutions anymore. It was now about trust, privacy, and whether the DOJ was playing fair or playing dirty when powerful names and sensitive files were on the line. The drama peaked as Democrats demanded immediate answers and Republicans tried to defend the Attorney General, creating some of the most heated exchanges of the entire 4-hour session. Now let's step back and analyze what this burn book moment actually means and why it has sparked such intense debate across the political spectrum. At its core, this incident raises fundamental questions about the balance of power between the Department of Justice and the United States Congress. When a sitting Attorney General appears before a Congressional Oversight Committee and brings with her a detailed log of a committee member's search history in one of the most sensitive criminal investigations in modern history, the Jeffrey Epstein files, it creates an immediate appearance of conflict. On one hand, the Department of Justice has argued in similar situations that logging access to sensitive databases is a standard security measure. They claim it helps prevent leaks, tracks potential unauthorized access, and protects the integrity of ongoing investigations. In that sense, having a reference sheet of who accessed what could be seen as routine internal procedure rather than something malicious. However, the timing and context make this particular situation highly problematic for many legal experts and observers. Congresswoman Jayapal was not just any user, she was an active participant in the very hearing questioning the DOJ's handling of those same files. Bringing her specific search history into the room and having it visible during her line of questioning suggests the information may have been used to prepare counterarguments or anticipate her moves. This blurs the line between legitimate preparation and potential intimidation of congressional oversight. Furthermore, this moment touches on deeper concerns that have been building throughout the Epstein files release process: transparency, consistency, and equal application of rules. If the DOJ is meticulously tracking lawmakers' searches while simultaneously facing criticism for uneven redactions, protecting certain powerful names while accidentally exposing victim information, it fuels the narrative that the system may still be protecting insiders rather than delivering full accountability. The implications extend far beyond this single hearing. If government agencies can monitor and document the research activities of elected representatives who are tasked with overseeing them, it could have a chilling effect on future congressional investigations. Lawmakers might hesitate to dig deeply into sensitive topics for fear that their inquiries will be logged, analyzed, and potentially used against them. Republicans have largely downplayed the incident, calling it standard note-taking and accusing Democrats of manufacturing outrage for political points. Democrats, on the other hand, are demanding a full Inspector General investigation into the practice, arguing it represents a dangerous overreach by the executive branch. Regardless of which side one leans toward politically, this binder reveal has highlighted a serious trust deficit between Congress and the Department of Justice on the Epstein matter. It has moved the conversation from were the files properly redacted to a more fundamental question: can Congress truly perform meaningful oversight when the agency being overseen appears to be monitoring them in real time? This single moment may end up being one of the most talked about aspects of the entire February 11th hearing, because it strikes at the heart of governmental accountability and the checks and balances that are supposed to protect American democracy. What do you think about this shocking burn book moment from the Pam Bondi hearing? Was the Department of Justice simply being careful with sensitive files by tracking search history? Or does bringing a sitting Congresswoman's exact Epstein file searches into the hearing room cross a dangerous line into surveillance and intimidation? Does this represent legitimate security measures, or is it another example of the government weaponizing information against those who are supposed to oversee it? We want to hear your honest thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe this was a simple note-taking binder or something far more concerning? Drop your take right now, whether you think it's a serious breach of trust or overblown political drama. Be sure to tell us which part of this hearing shocked you the most: the survivors raising their hands, the Wexner redaction exchange, or this explosive burn book reveal. Your comments help drive the conversation and let us know what topics to cover next. If you're tired of mainstream media skipping over these critical moments and only giving you surface-level coverage of the Epstein files hearings, then make sure you subscribe to the channel right now and turn on the notification bell. We're committed to delivering detailed, time-stamped, unfiltered recaps of every major congressional hearing, document release, and development in this ongoing story as it unfolds. Hit the like button if this breakdown helped you understand what really happened in that hearing room, and share this video with anyone who needs to see the full picture behind the headlines. The more people who watch and engage, the more we can continue bringing you these in-depth analyses that cut through the noise. Stay tuned because we have much more coming, including deeper dives into the Massey Wexner confrontation, the survivors' powerful statements, and the latest on what may still be hidden in the Epstein files. Thank you for watching. See, this is the kind of transparency and accountability coverage you won't find anywhere else. We'll see you in the next video. Keep questioning, keep watching, and stay informed.